It's such a common experience in partnership of like, "Oh, there's a fire. Let's figure out how to get the fire out." And then that's you mentioned this earlier when we were talking of like, "Oh, I put the fire out and that's okay. I'm gonna, triage this." And then all these promises are made, but then the
Yep.
promises aren't followed through because the fire's out. And I don't have a reason to keep the promises because there's no fire anymore until 4 months later when the fire resurfaces. And it's like that feels like I mean, that feels like a lot of frustration in partnership itself. I'm sure it happens on both sides, but for this conversation, it's happening a lot that the women are being promised things by men when there's fires, and then everything appears to be okay. And then there's a drop because I was convinced that I was going to have this relationship that actually never happened because you didn't then proceed to do the work that allowed it to stabilize in that way. And there's heartbreak all over the place because of that. And, for
Right.
some people, they're leaving those relationships after a couple of cycles. Some people are in those relationships for cycles forever where it's truly toxic and it's really just almost like an addictive thing where
Right.
eventually maybe they'll escape it. And then other people end up in marriages where there's just like resentment because they're so upset that they were promised these things, but the skills to have the conversation isn't there. Some of it comes down to people being ready to do the deeper work or not. Like you're saying, after that momentum is built, are they going to go do the deeper work or not? But I'm curious how can we get more men and women and humans in general to understand that yeah, it might be the fire that's getting you to start the work, but the fire isn't the reason to do the work.
Right.
The connection is the reason to do the work. And in order to have it just is this way, like perfect isn't a thing that we achieve as humans. It's like a forever school that we're in
Yes.
to be
Yeah.
nourishing this thing. And the lesson that we learned 6 months ago is not the same thing that's going to sustain the relationship forever. We are continuously being taught new things
Yeah.
about ourselves. So how do we bridge that gap? How do we get people to understand whether it's the fire or not that got you into the room, it should be the desire to continue that really is going to sustain the connection.
Yeah. Wasn't that kind of like a conversation around like the shift from like dopamine to oxytocin based connection,
Mm.
right? It's the shift from, because like a procrastinator procrastinates because it serves them, because they don't know how to motivate themselves. So procrastinates because they go, everything's urgent, everything's on fire. I have to write this paper. I have to get this project done. Right. And the frantic, I have to. Like that person right there, like they don't know how to drive themselves forward yet. So the question of how do you get men to see this, realize this, step into this, how about to take ownership of this? I don't know if there's a clear answer. I think there really is. I think part of it is like, how are you sick and tired of being sick and tired? Because I think they say, there's this phrase out there like men'll army crawl half a mile over broken glass if they have a strong enough why. And for a lot of guys, their strongest why is never see me, never be seen. Their strongest why is protect myself at all costs, because for whatever reason, they've learned that that's what it has to be. And so I don't know. I don't think you can drag that person out of that. But I think creating spaces where men meet in a way that is not over intellectualized, not over spiritualized, not over psychologized, not over whatever, right? Like I think every single healing path has the potential to become a way of bypassing the actual inner work. Right. And so it's, how do we create spaces that are about movement forward and simultaneously not movement forward? And then invite men into those spaces where they are invited to challenge, respected, even if they don't take the challenge, and just presence is held.